Hello again. Today's video is something I've been putting off for a while, but with the last video where I basically smashed through a wall to put up a new room, I figured now's probably the best time to get it done with carrying the momentum forward. First, I actually had to find a damn room, as you can probably tell, and those who have played the map can also corroborate. The map is a bit bloody dense, and sometimes it's hard to find a room because you don't always know where you are. I often have to look for main areas. In this case, I know that this room is basically directly opposite the coal power plant. Then I had to set up the cordon, which was set to the new room. This took a few minutes because I'm trying to reduce how much extra detail is being rendered, such as the models and brushes outside of this room. Because of how tight the cordon is and the shape of this room's brushes, inevitably I am going to see other stuff in the other rooms, but if I need to in the moment, I can just hide them using the H button. So before getting to the goals, you might be wondering, well, what is this room? Basically, it's like a little town. It was meant to originally act as a break up to the highway, so it wasn't just droning on tunnels and roads. Some players can see that as lazy, so I tried to make it more interesting, and this is one of those areas. It's basically just a small room with no rail access. However, its beauty comes in size and efficiency of the space. The problem before is that the highway would abruptly end with a super tight turn. However, to make sure that we can actually use this space, I needed to redesign it, and you'll actually see what it used to look like at the end of the video with a transition between the old and the new design. Using my carriageway models, which are only slightly bigger than the highway, I can use the carriageway junction models that I created that happened to be made long after this room was done, and convert that into a section that is a much smoother transition. This has the benefit of allowing people to race through unimpeded, even if there's a speed limit, but gives them an area to get off the highway essentially, and also doubles up as an opportunity to add more detail to the area. Previously, this area had 2 enterable buildings and 4 unenterable buildings. By all means, that's not a bad thing, but definitely not a good use of the space, and I was very aware of that at the time, hence wanting to return to revise it or just slightly improve it. However, as with anyone that locks in, I ended up doing the whole bloody thing, essentially gutted it out. What's annoying with this room is because of the road tunnel that goes under the highway and because of the road tunnel that connects up with an outlands track that leads to the building zone ahead, I had to do the upper floor of this area in a bit of a weird shape, and you'll see that in a bit where I've got to use extra brushes because of the shape of the room basically. This room isn't fully finished, of course, and the reason being is that it may need more adjustments, but at some point I will be adding buildings to it. This area is very much trust the process today, because originally it looks like a lot of work, but it's not that bad. For a lot of my stuff I just wing it, which you can probably see. I keep it simple originally, and if it works, it works. At some point I even tried to do a diagonal highway piece, but the space required would be too much, and really in hindsight wouldn't be very good for this area. You can see me testing the sort of angle to see if it's worth it when I get a couple of the straight pieces and I turn them about 45 degrees and then I place them approximately in a straight line, and that just gives me a good enough idea to see if that would actually be worth doing. Some parts of the highway really do need a touch up because they aren't that great. For example, there's a beach scene at some point, but I could probably redo that eventually. Just looks a bit poor, to be honest. When I made it, it was just a hash thing. I probably made it in about 15-20 minutes, and it was just there, just for something to see when you drove past, but it looks pretty crap. So the goal in the end was change the highway, transition to a near continuous layout of the highway, and use a highway junction, place a ramp on the right, or wherever it can fit, so the lower area can be accessed, and just add more stuff, make it look a bit nicer. For now, this area will contain just like dev textured floors to help keep it simple, as I'll do the buildings another time. It also doesn't help that it bloody crashed when I actually began making the buildings anyway. A bit of an instant demoralisation, but at this point it's very late in the day, so it's just as well that I finish up for the day. Well, thanks for watching in the meantime. I'm going to let the rest of the video play and let me know what you think.